guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing a tier list, and it's going to be of Beast of the Mesozoic figures. This is going to be basically every figure we have at least one image of so far. And let's get started. First, let's start with the Raptor series, and let's move on. I gave Velociraptor E tier, mainly because I'm not really a fan of the sculpt. At least with this paint job, I'm not really a fan of it. I don't know why, it just looks a little off, mainly in the face. It might just be this image, but I'm not really a fan of this one. The Atrociraptor, it's fine. It gets C tier, because it's not really bad, but it's not the best. But it's still a pretty good figure. Wish it had a little bit more color on it. I'm not going to even try to pronounce half of these. I'm not going to even try, but this one got a decent B. I like the face, and it looks basically all the Raptors have a good body plan. They all look pretty good in the body, but it's mainly the head that sometimes determines what tier it's going to get, and it gets a B tier. This is the other Velociraptor. This is the blue Velociraptor. It gets blue points for being blue, and I like the color of it, so anything with the blue on it is going to get blue points that make it go higher up in rating, but it gets an A tier. It looks pretty good. And I can see that the sculpt does look good, it just has to have the right paint on it. Here's another Velociraptor. I'm not a fan of this one. It looks slightly off. It looks really creepy in the eyes for some reason. D tier. This one has a really sweet looking face, so I really like this one. B tier. This one also has a good looking face, and then the body plan looks pretty good, so I gave it a B tier. This one, I don't know what about it. I just don't quite like it too much, so I kind of just put it in D tier, and it also doesn't have too many colors. Dromaeosaurus got B tier because it looks nice and wintry. I probably should have put it in A tier because, to be honest, it kind of deserves A tier, so maybe I'll have to go change that. This one has a nice coloring. I've seen a picture of a raptor that looks really similar to this in the coloring, and it looks pretty good. It also gets blue points, so I probably should have bumped it up to A because it looks really good, but it can stay in B. This one also gets blue points for being blue, but this one's head just looks really nice. Here's the Raptor. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I don't know why, because I'm really not sure why. Raptor means fire thief, so I probably was just expecting it to be red. That's probably the main problem with it, for me at least. But yeah, besides that, it's not the worst. This one just looks slightly off. I don't know what about it. It just looks slightly off. It gets B tier. I like the colors, though. The colors are really nice with this one. I don't know. It just gets B tier. This one has a nice Roadrunner coloring. It's a good B tier because it's a pretty good sculpt. Pretty good coloring. Has a nice fan of feathers on its head. So, yeah, it gets B tier. I don't know what about this one. It's pretty nice. I might put it down in like C tier after this, now taking a second look at it, but it's, I don't know what about it. There's just something slightly off with this one. It's good though. Dromaeosaurus, this other one. I'm not as big as a fan of this color scheme for it, but, because it's really not as good as the other one, but it is okay, I guess, so I kind of just put it in C. This other Raptor, I like the colorings, but it's a pretty good figure. I probably should have put it in B, but I think I'm just going to leave it as this for now. This one, I don't know why. I really like this raptor that's in the set. It kind of looks like an Austroraptor. It might be an Austroraptor, I'm just not 100% sure. This is Mononychus. Mononychus is always good, so yeah, it got A tier. This one got B tier because it's still good, but the Microraptor looks a little off, but it still looks pretty good. And then this little raptor in this set looks really good, so I just gave it an A tier. The baby raptors look good, but they look like they're kind of missing a soul in their eyes. They just look kind of creepy. Oh, let me go back to this one. This one gets blue points, and then also the sculpt looks good, so it gets A tier. This one is the black-headed Velociraptor. I don't know. It's not the greatest. There's this one, which has, the face looks nice, but besides that, it kind of looks off, but probably just this image, because I can't see the rest of the Velociraptor. This set The Microraptor looked really good. It's like, yeah, the Microraptor alone gets it A tier. Because the face still looks the same, but the colorings really make up for it. Well, the Mononychus is also really good. The face, I'm not too big of a fan of the red on the face. If you're like, maybe on less of the face, like not on the lower jaw, but only on the upper jaw, it would probably be a little bit better, but, it's kind of works for A. These baby raptors, they look a little bit better. The paint job looks a little bit better. The eyes are still completely black and make them look like they still do not have a soul, but they're still a little bit better than the other ones. So they get A tier. This one, okay, the raptor in the back looks like a literal flamingo, but the one in the front looks really well. And also, I don't know why, but I like smaller figures. And this one's a smaller figure, so it looks really good, in my opinion. There's this one. The head just looks slightly off. I think it might be missing teeth, but besides that, it only lands in B. If it had, like, the teeth were a little bit more distinct, they would probably be bumped up to maybe A, but for now, it would be in B. The Velociraptor also gets B. I don't know what exactly is wrong with it. I might have to move that one to A, but as of right now, it's fine in B. It's pretty good. It's basically the same as the other one, but smaller and looks slightly better, in my opinion. Here is the Ceratopians line, which the Ceratopians are much better than the Raptor line, I have to say that, but all the Beasts of the Mesozoic figures are really well, so the Ceratopians should be not bad at all. None of these are bad. I'm just ranking these compared to each other, not just in general. So any figure that I get like in really low tiers, they're just there compared to the other figures. And let's move on to the Ceratopians. Ceratops gets A tier right off the bat. It has really good coloring, like the blue tail, has a good head sculpt and coloring. Miscellaneous gets blue points, so it gets the S tier. This Centrosaurus, I'm not a fan of the colorings. Triceratops, the subadult, it gets A tier. It's really good. The Triceratops is always good. Styracosaurus gets A tier. I think I should have put that in S tier, so I'm just going to treat it like it is an S tier. Yeah, it belongs in S tier. Look at these colorings. It's magnificent. Chasmosaurus. I'm not a fan of Chasmosaurus in general. Sometimes some figures I'm okay with, like the tenor Chasmosaurus looks pretty good, but this one just looks, the head, I don't know what about it. Looks too geometrical. Diabloceratops. I think it might just be this image, because I think usually I would probably rank it a little bit higher, but from this image, at least it looks more like a B tier figure. Ceratops, it gets an A tier. It would get an S tier if the yellow was toned down, because in this image alone makes it look like it should be an S tier figure, but I've seen some in-hand looks of it, and it's really bright yellow. The yellow is really bright, so it's a little bit too bright in my opinion, so it will be an A. Protoceratops, this big Protoceratops I've seen some images of in hand. It looks fine, it looks about the good as this one, but I'm just not a fan of it for some reason. It's like not, a Protoceratops is kind of weird depending. If it was a smaller figure, which there is a smaller Protoceratops, it would be ranked higher, or if it's even a bigger one, then it would be ranked a little bit higher, but it's just at the size that it is, and then it looks pretty good, just I'm not a fan of the sizing. I don't know why, it's just I am. The Ceratosaurus gets A tier. I should have put in S tier. This thing is magnificent. I don't know why, just it's great. It looks great. I'm not going to even argue, just it's great. Medusaceratops, I meant to say. Medusaceratops only got B tier because of the repaint Medusaceratops. And it probably would have been A without the repaint one. The repaint one just leaves this one in dust and makes it look not as good as in comparison. Ionosaurus, it looks like it was like an oil painting. At least from this image, it looks like it was an oil painting, but a 3D oil painting. But it's not the worst. The sculpt's okay, and the color is great, so I just plopped it right there. I'm not going to try to pronounce this one, but I really like this one. It just looks nice. I don't know, it just looks like a really good Ceratopian. A tier, possibly even S, but I think it'll settle for A tier. This one I don't like. I don't know what about it. I like the colors, but they just look off. I don't like this one at all. I don't know. It just gets D tier. This one, there's nothing wrong with it. I probably should have put it in A tier, but B tier will have to work for now. Chasmosaurus. Same thing with the Dinosaur. It looks a little bit like an oil painting, but that might be just my opinion. It might look better in hand, but for now, it will be in C tier. Centrosaurus adult, it gets blue points, so it gets in B. It should have put in, like, maybe low A, but for now, B will work. I'm not going to try to pronounce this one. Honestly, this one is just boring. It's just boring. That's all that's wrong with it. Besides that, this one's really good. On to the next one. The next one is Pachyrhinosaurus. This one gets an A tier. It looks peppermint colored. It looks like its name could be Peppermint. It's a really nice one. Next one is this one. I don't like the colorings. This one just looks... It looks kind of like melted ice cream. Like Neapolitan without the pink. Melted Neapolitan ice cream without the pink part. This one looks good. There's just... I'm not the biggest fan of it. It looks good, though, so it gets B tier. Next is Ceratops. This Ceratops is wonderful. At least Ceratops is getting some love. It's one of the only large Asian Ceratopians, and it did it justice. This thing looks absolutely magnificent. Also, really like the colors. Utah Ceratops. I've seen some in-hand looks, and it might have been just the lighting from the in-hand looks I've seen, and it doesn't look as good, but from this image, it looks really well, so I'm just going to put it in A. Pentaceratops. I've seen some in-hand looks, and it looks a little bit more orange than this, and I don't really like that too much. So I just put it in B from this image. But if it was from this, if it looked exactly like this image, which it might do, I just can't remember, it would probably be A tier, but for now it'll be stay in B. Triceratops gets A tier. You can't go wrong with Triceratops. This thing is S tier. It gets blue points. I really like this Torosaurus. Before doing this video and seeing all the Ceratopians, this was probably my second favorite after Miscellaneous, but for now it will be an S just because I really like the blueness of it. This Tyrannosaurus, it's fine. I should have put in maybe A. To me, it looks good. It's just I'm not the biggest fan, especially this one. This one probably I should have stayed in B. The other one I probably should have put in A. It's just the scars on its side are a little bit too bright red. It doesn't look like it's actual scars. It looks kind of like someone just used the marker the color on to make it look like it has scars. Torosaurus, it doesn't get blue points, and I should have put this one in S. I just didn't want to put too many in S. But if I wasn't worried about that, this would go into S tier. But as of now, I'll just put it in A. A really high A. That's what it'll be on. Walking with Dinosaurs inspired Tyrannosaurus. He gets an A tier. It looks really good. This image, it doesn't look as good as I've seen in some in-hand looks of it. And the in-hand looks I've seen of it are really well. So I would probably put him in A tier. Medusaceratops, this is the one I'm talking about, has a wonderful coloring. I recommend looking up a review of this figure because this figure is great. So, this is 100% S tier. Baby Diabloceratops, this look, I just like baby dinosaurs, and it's a little tiny baby Ceratopsian, so it gets S tier. This is the other one, how I was talking about the, Protoceratops is the smaller version. This gets B tier. I like it. It looks has a little bit worse than the other one, but the only reason is probably because it's a really small figure. This one, I think, now looking at them, I think I might like this one better, so it should maybe be in, like, high B tier. The other one would be, like, mid B tier. Ceratosaurus gets S tier. The tiny one is just the other one, but smaller, so that makes it better. S tier. Glow-in-the-dark Zuniceratops. C tier. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. The first Zuniceratops is really good, but this one isn't as well because of the coloring. I think there's an orange one. I forgot to put it on this tier list. But it probably ranked the same as this one. The only reason I probably ranked it this high is because I kind of have nostalgia for the, of large glow-in-the-dark dinosaurs. I don't know why I used to see those all the time, but they're, like, kind of, like, large, maybe, like, 10-inch glow-in-the-dark, just solid plastic dinosaurs. And it kind of reminds me of that, so I kind of just put it in C. This Triceratops also goes in C because the head looks really good, and the body looks really good. Just, I don't know, it kind of just lands here. It doesn't really belong to be in B tier, and it doesn't quite belong in C tier, but there's no tier in between, so it kind of just lands in C. Now the Tyrannosaur series. The Tyrannosaur series can either be really good or not the best. Those are really the two options for the Tyrannosaur series. Dylon gets an A tier. It's really good. Gets blue points. It looks really nice. It looks like a parrot, but a carnivore at the same time, which is really good. Morris Intrepidus, I don't know, because I think I've just really fallen in love with the one from Jurassic World Dominion, and it doesn't look like that one. That's probably why I got that low of a rating. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but this one gets A tier. It looks really good. This one gets D tier. Just the face looks a little off to me. Guanlong gets A tier because it looks really good. The crest colors match really well with the feather coloring. Ceratosaurus. The face looks really good. The head looks really good. The body sculpt looks really good. I don't know. It looks good together, but I feel like there could be better, but I don't know what colors would look better on this. This one gets S tier. I just like it. I don't know what I like about it, just gets S tier. Ceratopian, I really like Ceratopian, so it gets a little bit higher than it probably would be. If I wasn't such a big fan of Ceratopian, it would probably get C tier, but since I am, this one gets a B tier. This one gets S tier. I just like Quanzasaurus a lot for some reason. And then also it gets blue points, and it's a pretty good figure. It's probably the best Quanzasaurus figure, or just Quanzasaurus depiction I've seen in a while. Juvenile T-Rex, I'm not a fan of the face. It just looks off to me. This is the Walking with Dinosaurs Tyrannosaurus, which this is probably one of the best the best T-Rex model ever made. I'm not going to even lie. This is one of the best T-Rex models ever made. Probably the best. The other T-Rex, the 1/35th scale one, I'm not a fan of the 1/35th scale one as much as the large one, but it's still a pretty good figure, so it gets B tier. The Thornhex gets C tier because of its teeth. It just looks horrible. The teeth look horrible. And then other than that, it doesn't have anything kind of standing out about it, so it gets C tier. This one, the Bistis, why did I even try to pronounce it? I'm not going to do that again. But it gets a C tier because the colorings look really nice on it. But if it didn't have the colorings, it probably would go much lower because it doesn't have anything else really to stand out. But besides that, since it does have the coloring, it belongs really high. Tyrannosaurus gets S tier. It just looks amazing. This is the best Tyrannosaurus ever made. Driftosaurus, I almost put in S tier, but I was able to hold myself back just to put in an A tier. And I think it belongs in a really high A tier. Gorgosaurus, I don't like this one. I don't know why. It's too chunky. Tyrannosaurs, I like them chunky, just not Gorgosaurus. Albertosaurus, I usually do not like chunky, but this one, when they actually pulled it off kind of correctly. The Gorgosaurus looks more like this. I think I like it, but it doesn't, so yeah. Displetosaurus also looks off. Honestly, it doesn't have anything really pulling it towards Displetosaurus for me. Tarbosaurus, honestly, the Tarbosaurus looks a little bit too different from the T-Rex. Since they're so closely related, I would have, honestly, it probably would have looked a little bit better, looking a little bit closer related to T-Rex, but besides that, it looks really good. The coloring, the sculpt looks good. I wouldn't have guessed Tarbosaurus if I saw this model and didn't know what it was, but I would guess a Tyrannosaur, just not Tarbosaurus. This one gets S tier. It's basically the same reason the Walking with Dinosaur one gets. It's not as good just because it doesn't have the Walking with Dinosaurs coloring, which is really good. I don't like this one. Cyberzoic, next. The Cyberzoic do not have many, actual figure model pictures. Most of them just have, the color designs for them, and some of them don't even have the color designs, so these are what they are for now. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. It gets B tier. It's pretty good. I probably should have bumped it to A, but it's pretty good. This one should have stayed in B, but this one should be A tier. This one, honestly, does not look like an Allosaurus to me. This just looks like an Acrocanthosaurus without a hump. So it gets C tier. If this was an Acrocanthosaurus, then yes, indeed, it would 100% get at least A S tier. This one I'm not a fan of the colors. The Ceratosaurus looks really good. It looks like a Ceratosaurus, so it gets B tier. This gets A tier because it's the only accurate Dilophosaurus I've seen so far. It is a very good Dilophosaurus depiction. It's more accurate. Now, this one I like just a hint more. The sculpt on the head is slightly different. I kind of like that. I like the crest of this one better, but this one in all just looks a little bit, looks different, but in a good way. And also, it has good coloring. Always like blue and gray paired together. Always look good. So it gets S tier. Pachycephalosaurus gets B tier. The head looks a little bit not quite. It looks Pachycephalosaurus, but it doesn't look like really accurate Pachycephalosaurus. It just looks like a Pachycephalosaurus. But this is just kind of concept art, so it probably does not going to look too much like the concept art. Here's Stegosaurus, which the actual model, and then with these colors, would be amazing. S tier automatically for both of the Stegosauruses. I don't even know which coloring I like better. But this model, it looks like it's going to be huge. It looks absolutely magnificent so far. So I'm excited for that one. The Utah Raptor, this one gets S tier. It kind of has the similar coloring to the Deinonychus. I mean, the Dromaeosaurus. And that's really nice. The Dromaeosaurus colors are really good. And then on a Utah Raptor, it makes it great. This one gets A tier because the colors is like similar, just looks like it was slightly changed. Acrocanthosaurus, it literally comes with a robotic Stegosaurus that turns into armor, so it gets pretty good rating. Also, the Acrocanthosaurus, this is just concept art, but it looks basically just like the Allosaurus, just not as good. Carnotaurus gets mega S tier because it's my favorite dinosaur, and then it's an accurate Carnotaurus. And Carnotaurus gets like many tiers. There's no concept art like for the colorings of this, but it's going to be based on an Argentinian tegu. I don't know if it's going to be like a Argentinian black and white tegu or Argentinian red tegu, but either way, it's going to be great. I don't know about the Argentinian black and white, but the Argentinian red would probably look really well in this figure. And it's a Carnotaurus where it gets like 12 S's. And yeah, that's my tier list. I hope you guys like the Beast of the Mesozoic tier list, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Hello there. I'd like to let you guys know that, well, let me show you. We've got merch. So, please buy some merch.